Welcome to the Ion Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
This is sort of a record. This is like my third app that we're doing a spotlight on. We did one with Propa, which is a Match.com for plant lovers and how to get your plants. And we talked with Austin from Daily. Right. And now today we are here with Unio Health, which isn't going to mean much of anything, but the developers of a new app called Prosper, which is something that is very, very much needed, and hopefully it is in demand. But joining us today is Alden and Eric Sullivan, the president, founder, thought behind, and everything behind the new app.
Yeah.
The new app. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good.
We've heard all the statistics about kids today and young adults. And I've said on the record, you could not pay me enough money to be a teenager or a young adult today. We've got suicide, we've got bullying, we've got sextortion, we've got all sorts of crazy things that my generation certainly didn't have to focus on, didn't have to contend with. And it's a problem. Look at the crisis response team that we have in Anne Arundel County. We never had anything like that growing up.
Right.
Never had the need for anything like that growing up. Either that or it was very well hidden.
Could be both.
A little bit of both.
Right.
But you two have decided to sort of take that bull by the horns and develop an app that is going to be pretty much helping in the most basic sense, the mental health of teenagers and young adults. Am I pretty close?
Pretty close. I think that when we started this, a little more than a year ago, we knew that there was a lot of growing issues with anxiety, stress, things that you mentioned, addictions, and even some physical health issues that are out there. Prediabetes is growing, especially in minority populations, and what we found is that there's just many of the younger generations don't really know where to go and how to find what's around them and get help and get connected. So
go figure. They had the internet. We didn't.
Well, yeah. And there's a lot there. If you go to Google and you just type in anxiety, who knows what you would get, right? So, and we know that the primary place where folks are, especially younger generations, are going are Google or TikTok, probably the main two places. And that's kind of no holds barred there. It's like whatever shows up, shows up. So can we create a safer, engaging experience for younger generations to connect? That's kind of what our focus was.
Well, Eric, what is your background that brings you into the mental health realm or the health realm?
Yeah, no, I grew up in Annapolis. I went to Tyler Heights back in the 70s. So been here in this area my entire life, but I spent about 35 years in the healthcare technology sector, predominantly leading, innovation, whether health plans, health systems. I worked at Anne Arundel back in the 90s to Boston Medical Center and other places. But really, it's always been in that area of helping health plans and provider groups and health systems build technologies and data systems that could help them improve wellness at a population level.
Okay, and Alden is your son, and he is the guinea pig, the expert, of what needs to be done. Now, what is your background? I mean, you're not a high school freshman.
Right. Yeah, so I'm 23. I originally went to school for music technology, and at the start of COVID, I transitioned pretty heavily into computer science. And for the past few years, I've just been developing websites and apps and really increasing my expertise in that area. So when Eric came to me with the idea of a sort of mental health focused app, I was fully on board, and I've been the main developer for the apps.
Well, at 23, and it may not be a fair question, but I mean, how tough was it for you to cope through that? We'll say ninth grade through 23. Was it a difficult period of time in your life?
In terms of mental health?
Just for you in general. I mean, mental health plays a role into it and everything else. I mean, was that
I've been incredibly lucky to have such a good support network around me. I mean, I've had really good friends and a really good family, and just a huge support network. So I'm incredibly privileged to have that. But, of course, I've had my own issues with anxiety, depression, especially around the transition from high school to college, moving away from home, tons of anxiety. And leading into COVID too, there was definitely a few years of depression. And so that is also why I'm so interested in this mission.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're the one that is going to have to talk. You walking the walk and talking the talk. And I mean, you've got more of a pipeline into the younger generation, which is the one that has the problems there. So what was the impetus behind saying, hey, we need to develop an app to help people? And you talked about the support system that you had, Alden, in your family and your friends and everything else, and being very fortunate. And that is something that you are very fortunate. I mean, there's so many people that don't have that support system. And, I've always said that if, guardians or mentors or whatever it is would take just an inkling more of an interest in today's youth, it would make a world of difference in any number of different ways. Just, hey, where are you going? And I remember with my own son, he had to come to, an aha moment at one point when he was like, why do you have to know where I'm going and who I'm going with? And I said, I don't really care where you're going or who you're going with. I just want to know that if you're coming home at 2 as an adult, you're over 21, that you should be home around 2. If I wake up at 4 and you're not home, then I'm going to be concerned.
Yeah. Right.
And then finally he's getting that. And, I'm not in your life. I'm not, butting into everything.
Right.
You need to make your own mistakes, and I'll be there to catch you before you hit the concrete. But why did you decide that this was something that was needed?
I mean, I think from my perspective, we didn't know it was going to be an app, first off. I mean, we kind of assumed that was going to be the direction. And I think we met with, 24 high schoolers and college students this time last year, and said, look, we know that not everyone is fortunate enough to know where to go or have parents that can help them navigate the health system, which is crazily complex. I mean, still I find it complex, and I've been in it for 30 years. So, but I think through those discussions with the high schoolers and college students, we knew it had to be a smartphone app. That's kind of where that generation, the younger generations live. And we knew that there had to be something that was easy to help them navigate that, because not everyone has that support system behind them to say, hey, you're stressed. Here is, physicians around the corner, or here is a, resource for transportation. Because a lot of the issues aren't necessarily health issues that are creating, people's depression getting worse. It's often that they can't get help because they don't have the right transportation, or they don't have healthy food options, or, and housing. I mean, just basic things like housing.
I totally didn't think about it, but now there's my aha moment that I've got a job. I'm psyched. I've got a job. I'm making money, and the bus is late.
Right.
What are my options?
It's a cascading effect. Yeah.
To get that. And I mean, and no, I'm not necessarily stressed about my job, but now I can't get to my job. Is the job going to be there?
It's the underlying factor. They call it social determinants of health. And we partnered with a company called Find Help, which is a national organization that you can actually access in the app. If you put in your zip code within Prosper, and say you're looking for housing, because you're probably not surprised the number of people in this county, as affluent as people think Anne Arundel County is, there's an awful lot of people that struggle with housing and just those basic life things that actually do directly have an impact on your mental stability and support.
Well, let's talk about the app itself. The app is called Prosper, and it is available on the Google and the Apple app stores, right?
Correct.
And that's probably the best way to go. I mean, the website that you can learn a little bit more about it is Uneo Health, and that's UNEO health.com. And you can learn about Alden and Eric and the app there. But to get the app, you can go to the App Store and pick it up. It's called Prosper.
Yep.
Well, walk me through the app. I mean, how does that work during the day? Okay, I know that when I wake up in the morning, I'll go down and I'll look at my emails and I'll look at Twitter and I've got my own routine. Is this something that you expect to be a routine for somebody that is a user of the app? That, hey, I'm going to check in the morning.
Definitely, yeah. It's a full sort of self-care experience. So we've got mood tracking, habit tracking. We've got a social networking aspect of it. And so talk about routine, we have the habit tracking is you can set times of the day that you're going to have habits and you'll get a notification. So, in the morning you could set, take my medication or whatever it is, and you'll get a notification for that.
Go walk, breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
meditate. And then also the mood tracking. which is, sort of a classic mood tracker with a twist on it, which is the social side of it. But that's built around streaks, so you want to increase your streak. And also it's just good for data and insights for the user to see how they were doing every day and track that progression over time.
Okay, so as we go, I'm assuming it has some sort of reporting screens that you can look and say, okay, well, I was in the most basic level, I was in was I in a foul mood all last week?
Right.
Or this week looks pretty good.
Right.
That's pretty neat. And I will say this, as far as being able to track your habits, and you said, take the medication or meditate or something like that. I mean, I'm using a new email app that you set the times that you want to look at your email so you're not married to it.
Right.
And it's pretty much like a lock screen. And there is a step to get beyond it if you want to, but it's basically, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's not 1 o'clock. You can't look at it yet. And I think that's wonderful because I don't get so distracted and I can keep focused on whatever I need to focus on.
You don't turn a feature off?
Well, I can get around it. I can get around it if I need to. If somebody calls me and says, hey, I sent you an email, I can get around it. It's about just giving
your brain that second to just think about it.
Yeah. Well, what types of resources do we find on Prosper? I mean, you talked about, there's some housing resources that we can get into, but I mean, there's so much that can impact. I mean, I'm just, thinking, we talked about transportation, we talked about mental health, we talked about, certainly I would imagine crisis comes into play if I am looking into self-harm, that, I want to know who to talk to.
Right. I mean, I can start. I mean, I think we see it as two places. One is there's resources in the app, right? So there's activities for breathing exercises and meditation, kind of self-affirmations, things that you can work on yourself if you're stressed out, do a 3-minute body scan. We also have about close to 500 embedded YouTube and TED Talk videos that are actually interesting, as opposed to a lot of the healthcare content out there that our team of interns and, have curated that cover all the different topics around sleep and physical activity. We actually just talked to Annapolis Striders today about, ways to partner together, nutrition, even content areas such as LGBTQ plus or BIPOC, issues around health that can be very distinct. So there's a lot of the internal resources that we have. But as you mentioned, there's also this ability for you to search for help and get help, whether it's crisis help, 911, 988, all the other, more urgent issues. But certainly through our partner Find Help and through even our work with the Anne Arundel County Health Department, if you're looking for support for anxiety and stress or addictions, you can search for it by those different categories and find resources near you.
From a security standpoint, I mean, are you collecting in the app, are you collecting information that can assist in, say, future studies, to sit there and say, okay, well, I mean, I'm assuming there's a registration and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. I think it would be, on one hand, I think it would be very valuable to have some information to say, okay, well, from this select slice of age group people, we're finding that 80% of our users are feeling depressed or are feeling, maybe it's a spring, summer, winter thing. Yet as a user, I sit there going like, well, I don't need Eric to know that I'm like bummed out today.
Right.
And I know it doesn't get that granular down there.
I mean, we kind of taken a very deliberate consumer first approach here around privacy. I mean, we don't ask for name, your address. We're trying to collect the bare minimum fields like, your identified gender or race, your zip code. I think there's only 3 things, and email. Those are the 4 things that we collect that are personal, that help us create that experience in the app. But we don't, that's all we collect, and we secure it obviously in a secure environment, and we don't share that with people in terms of like, hey, John is feeling stressed today. None of that ever leaves the app. So it's all population level.
Well, I think it makes, there's some great information. Anecdotally, I've heard that Severna Park has an incredibly high suicide rate among children.
Right.
And even adults. There's all sorts of speculation as to why that may be and everything else. And we can do that till the cows come home. But I think that would be a wonderful resource for, say, the county health department or the state health department, certainly the crisis response team, if they ever got to the point where they needed to put substations or something like that, to know that, there's a community that is experiencing more issues, whether it be suicide, may be, drugs, may, bullying in schools or whatever it may be. I mean, that would be very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have the ability to share with like a health department high level insights. I mean, no, we keep everything aggregated at a regional level, but I think if they wanted to understand, at a high level, that the northern part of the county has these specific areas of focus, that's the kind of thing that the health department would want to know. But again, we don't share who the people are or anything like that because that's private. But I think
again, that's
at a population level, I think that's really valuable for health department.
Without a doubt. And I think that the user is the ultimate one that's going to be sharing the information. I mean, if I'm in crisis,
right,
and I get to the crisis response team, I'm one that's going to say, hey, my name is John Fernay, and I'm here at the Edgewater Library, and I'm freaking out, or come help me. Alden, you mentioned the social aspect of that, and making I know with the Apple Watches, we close the rings and the whole 9 yards. What is the social aspect of Prosper?
Yeah, so I think this is something I'm incredibly excited about. So, I mean, everyone's familiar with the sort of self-care app, the mood tracking, the habit tracking. So the concept behind the social aspect is that, I mean, today my generation is incredibly connected through Instagram and TikTok and just through the internet, but there's still such a feeling of isolation because there's not genuine. There are genuine connections, but there is a lack of genuine connections, and for some reason, it's so easy to feel isolated, even though we're so connected. So this concept of your wellness with other connections is really important. So, for example, the mood tracking, it's centered around sharing with your close friends and your family, anyone that's close to you, so everyone can sort of see how each other's doing. Because you might not necessarily want to text someone, how are you, but through, sharing a quick picture, attaching your emotion to it and sending that, and then also giving feedback to other people, sending a heart or words of encouragement, things like that, you can quickly and just easily create these sort of wellness connections with each other.
It's interesting you say that because I've talked to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention several times. And one of the key things that she tells me every time we speak, how do we help reduce the rate of suicide? And every year she says, just ask somebody how they're doing.
Right.
Just as simple as that. You don't have to be accusatory. You don't have to come in and say, oh, you look depressed, or what's wrong with you or anything like that. Just hey, how you doing? And somebody may look at, and it may just be just a spark that somebody cares about me. I don't know where somebody is, but it may be the spark that does it. And I mean, I think that's now your social aspect. That's a closed environment, right? As far as you invite people into your world.
Yeah. So in terms of the friends aspect, so yeah, you invite people with a code that they would have to share. So you can't just search by username. Eventually we might do something like that, but it's not on the horizon for
I would think that would get into, perhaps opening it up to, some of the stuff you're trying to avoid.
Exactly.
The online bullying and stuff like that. If there's some kind of a public.
Totally. Yeah. But we also do have a social feed within the app. So you can, it's a social feed. So you can talk about.
And that's a voluntary participation too.
Completely.
So, yeah. That's awesome. App stores, we can get them at the app stores. I mean, how are people going to find out about Prosper moving forward here? Obviously, they can listen to this and
right. This is it.
This is our. You need to rethink your distribution network if this is.
No, I mean we've got a couple. I mean, it's really an interesting challenge, but a kind of a fun challenge. Obviously, there is the app store promotion efforts that we started this spring, and then we have 3 interns, 2 at South River High School and 1 who's actually in LA that was part of our earlier team. They're helping us with our social media strategy. So we have an Instagram account that we started, I guess about a month or so ago. So we have Instagram, we have a TikTok account and Twitter account. So we'll have the social media strategy and interns helping us put out content for that. And then we actually are hiring now for a social media and kind of marketing specialist to help us literally grassroots, John, go through the county, go to wellness fairs, stand out at Anne Arundel Community College and hand out flyers and just really engage the community to bring people into the app.
That's pretty cool. So, I mean, it is a true grassroots.
That is very grassroots. But I think that's where, to Alden's point around community, it starts at the community level, right? So we want to kind of start with that.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, because if you have 2 users, they're vested in it.
Right.
As opposed to just, casting a huge wide net and hoping to see what you've got. I mean, you've got the fish on the hook, so to speak,
Right.
that as you get out there. You talked about your interns and your team and everything else. And I guess I want to ask about like your corporate structure. I mean, you've got you two, and now you've got, a South River intern and an LA intern and looking to hire somebody. But how many people are involved in developing this whole thing?
So we have two different subcontractors that have helped us on the design. This guy, Sean, who's fantastic on the UI, UX, or, design of the app itself. And he's a contractor and he's local. We have a team of other contractors that we can leverage. And then, like I said, we're hiring for marketing specialists now. And then Alden and I are the two full-time employees. And then, then we have 3 interns. So 6 people in total.
Okay.
But really 2 full-time, and then we'll bring on this marketing specialist, which will be the 3rd employee.
Right. Well, where are you looking to get all of your resources and stuff like that? I mean, is there a board that's helping you guys out as far as being able to? You're 23, so you're out of the high school realm, and you don't know. I mean, okay, TikTok wasn't around when you were a freshman in high school, I don't think.
Right.
How are you keeping up on the trends and the ways to connect to people? 6 months from now. When TikTok's illegal and something else is now sprouting up or whatever's going to happen.
I mean, honestly, social media really is the way of doing that. And also starting with your friend group and sort of working out from there. Everyone knows a person. So that's, I think, the simplest way.
Cool.
And we do have, I didn't mention, we have 9 advisors, clinical advisors, business advisors as well, that are all people like me that are helping us on some of the, around that healthcare content that we have.
Hear that, Alden? Sometimes the old people know what they're talking.
Yeah, well, it's just every now and then. Just in terms of the healthcare content we have, Dr. Nikki Ham, who's at Bowie State, she's hand selected. I think it's like 45 or 50 videos on BIPOC and issues around race and health and wellness. So we definitely get support from our advisors as well.
So this is sort of blowing my mind, though, because in the palm of your hand, you've got help with a couple taps.
Yeah.
For which one? And you talk about, everybody lives on their phones. And this morning I was out walking and I happened to notice the elementary school. I passed an elementary school going to school. And there had to be a girl that, obviously under 5th grade, but I pictured her probably about 3rd grade. And she was on the phone. And it sort of blew my mind. I didn't give my kids phones at 3rd grade. But,
right.
It's a different world than when my kids were in 3rd grade as well. And, the issues are happening younger and younger and younger.
Right.
I think it's pretty fantastic. This is geared really toward the, 16, 25, 6, 7?
Yeah, I think it's 13 plus, right? But what our focus is Gen Z and millennials, so I think 13 to 40, right?
Okay.
But I think I mentioned this to you before, about a quarter of our users, we have a couple thousand users on the app already. A quarter of them are actually over 40. So it kind of tells you that everyone's looking for wellness solutions, and the app isn't it's not designed to feel like a kid experience. Yeah, it's really not. It's really, and I think anyone can use it. But yeah, our focus is definitely the 13 to 30s range.
Well, I think your over 40 crowd is probably because we didn't have.
Right.
Right. We never had that. It's like, man, there's stuff for this. Maybe
right. And it has everything, as Lana mentioned, it kind of has everything all together in one place. So like you mentioned, you have a reminder to not open your email. And we have all this in one spot, because one of the feedback things we got last spring from actually our Annapolis High School interns was that they have like 6 different apps to manage their wellness, right? You have a fitness tracker and all these other different apps. And we just thought, like, can we create a simple experience that brings it all together without feeling cluttered, but helps them in one spot? That was kind of the main focus.
What's been the most difficult task to bring this to market?
I would say probably, wellness is such a broad concept, and there's probably 1,000 different products that we could have dug into in any aspect of our app. And so I think because consumers want a focused product, they don't want something that's confusing. So making our product focused, but also accessible to a lot of different people, I would say that's probably the hardest challenge.
Right.
Finding the right content.
The right mix. Yeah. Yeah. With doing the right things, but not being overloaded is kind of the key.
How can we help? How can John Q. Public, the librarian out here on the other side of the door, I mean, how can they help? I mean, obviously we can recommend it to our children to download the app and check it out. Kids and young adults that are listening, check it out, Prosper on the App Store. But I mean, how can we help get the word out? How can...
I think that this is a great start. Certainly, obviously, getting the word out through the local media and press is important. If there are listeners in the podcast that have businesses that cater to a lot of 20-year-olds or teenagers, we talked to Chick-fil-A last week, because that's, if you want to know where most people who were, almost everyone, I get Chick-fil-A, except for Sunday where people are going, Chick-fil-A is a great place. And, they were very interested in helping us promote it. And they have a lot of young staff and that are part-time, that are not really getting benefits. And this can be a nice, wellness opportunity for them to support with their team. So I would think if there's businesses that have that type of footprint, that can reach out to Alden and I and just kind of see how we could partner together. Because right now we're at the stage of finding the right partners to grow it and just keep finding the right opportunities to improve the experience of the app.
I guess it could be something as simple as a rack card with a QR code on it.
You'll see us at every wellness and community event for the foreseeable future with these little 5x5 cards with the QR code on it, just handing them out to people.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Is it a relief now to have, how long has it been live and usable?
So we started with I'll just go back a little bit. So last summer was our web app demo. So we didn't know we were going to do a mobile app first. We thought maybe we could just do it as like a website. Mm-hmm. And then we got some good feedback on that, but realized we needed a mobile app. So we started mobile app development last fall and officially pushed it to the app stores in January. So it's pretty early on.
We're 4 months and you've got several thousand users that are doing it. That's amazing. That's fantastic.
And he hasn't killed me yet. But father and son working together every day for 15 months could be taxing.
Well, we did do a Zoom call before, and you guys were in separate rooms, so I don't.
Absolutely, probably, absolutely.
Well, it was the question I had when my son moved back home. I said, "Okay, dude, you've been out for 6 years." I said, "Now you're coming back. Let's see how this works out."
Right.
Yeah. Do you guys work well together?
We do.
Yeah.
There you go. Is this it for the future for you?
What do you mean by that?
Do you anticipate being the C something O of Prosper? Is this a career for you, do you think? I
would love to see the app grow and have, 1 million users on it. And I'm fully committed to that vision. I put so much work into this. So in a sense, it's kind of my baby, and I want it to see its full potential.
I hope it gets there.
Thank you.
I hope Zuckerberg coughs up a couple $billion and
there you go,
right, and buys it from it at some point. That's fantastic. Go check out the app Prosper, Prosper. You can get it on the Apple or Google app stores. You want to check out a little bit more, find out about the background of the company and Alden and his dad Eric at uniohealth.com and UNEO Health.
You can also go to prosperselfcare.com. That's actually where you can find the app. It takes you right to the app store. So.
Okay, prosperselfcare.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, thank you guys so much for your time today, and congratulations. This is exciting, and it's so useful. It's needed, and I'll borrow a line from a friend of mine, but it's truly making a difference, I think.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.